Namaskar and good morning.
Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So first we'll invoke the Guru, and then I will sing an invocation to the deity of Bhakti in our temple of Rasa. And the meaning of this poetry is, in the temple of Rasa, in my heart, stand, O Mother, stand in Tribhanga. Stand with Sri Radha on your left. Remove your waistlet of human heads. Instead, don a yellow robe and a turban, a peacock feather stuck. Shade your garland of human heads. Instead, wear a garland of wild flowers. O Kali Pashani, become Kala. I love to see the black moon in the lotus of my heart. Give up your sword, mother. Hold the flute in both your hands. Sri Sri Guru Bado Bharosha Matrosha Nitya Shuddham Nirakaram Nirabhasyam Niranjanam Nityabodha Chidanandam Guru Brahmam Namamyaham Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hridayo Rash Mandire Dada Matribhanga Hoye Yagbar Hoye Baka Dema Dekha Sri Radha De Bame Hridayo Rash Mandire Narakaro Kati Bada Khule Parma Pido Dhara Narakaro Kati Bada মাথায় দেমা মোহন চূড়া তোর মাথায় দেমা মোহন চূড়া চরণে চরণ ধুয়ে নরশির মালাতারি গলে পরমা বনমালা মা কালী 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 মা কালী ছেড়ে ও মা কালা চরণে চরণ ছুঁয়ে হৃদ মাঝারে কালো শশী আমি দেখতে বড় ভালোবাসি ওষি ছেড়ে ধর্মবাসী মায়সী ছেড়ে ধর্মবাসী ভক্ত বাঞ্ছা পুরাইয়ে হৃদয় রাস মন্দিরে মা মা গো মা গো My pranam to Sri M, a great guru, master, a blessed being who has come to this world to touch many hearts, to show them the path, to bring positivity, spirituality in our lives, which is full of turmoil. And this is the time we need Sri M more and more. So I am deeply grateful, Sri M, to you to come here and speak with us. And today we want to listen from you about role of bhakti in the sadhana. How a sadhaka can cultivate bhakti in them, and what happens when one cultivates bhakti in them, and how was your path in this? Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Sahib Bandagi. So, first of all, I convey my pranams to Parvathy ji and to your parampara and to the Maner Manush who hides in everybody's heart. I offer my respects, pranams. I personally have understood. Actually, after hearing this beautiful song, it is a kind of a contradiction to speak in words. Because the whole journey is a song, When you talk, then it's words, it's not a song. So, I will discuss my personal understanding also, but let me go to something which I have been trying to talk in different satsangs and try to make people understand. That is, words can only convey things up to a certain point. Words are prose, they are not poetry. Then poetry is that which is between the words. Words can be defined, but even in Vedanta, in the highest Vedanta, What Vedanta tries to do, I'm talking about Vedanta in its essence, not of the different schools and so on. The attempt is to use your intellect to find out the limitations of the intellect. The most intelligent person, it need not mean most learned. Learned can be different from intelligent, because there are many people who have learned a lot. They're like what the Mundaka Upanishads mentions as Pandits who have learned, thinking that they have understood and beginning to guide people. And in the words of the Mundaka Upanishad, which of course came many thousand years, hundreds of years before Shakespeare, many people think this quotation is from Shakespeare, the blind leading the blind. So it's from the Mundaka Upanishad. 2000 years ago, the Rishi said, such people who have only knowledge, who have acquired knowledge, not what has come from inside. And when they begin to guide, it's like andheineva niyamana yatandaha, the blind leading the blind. So we all go round and round in a circle and fall into a pit. Why? Because the core is not touched, and the words cannot touch the core. The descriptions cannot be the thing, the reality. So when I talk, I give. There is an ancient story in the Bible of a person called a king called Nimrod. It's in the Old Testament, so the Jews know it, the Muslims know it, the Christians know it. The king Nimrod, who tried to build a tower, his ambitions were so high. Well, even in this world today, we have people with such ambitions, believe me. Wanted to build a tower which was so high that he could go to the top of the terrace and shoot an arrow which would hit God's footstool. That's what he said. You can imagine the ambition of a person, the hunger for power, which makes him think that he can build a tower, go there, shoot an arrow at the footstool of the Lord himself. Anyway, the tower was built, and he walked up to the terrace, took his bow and arrow and fired. So thousands of people must have been there to build the tower, the workers. We're coming to this point. And when he shot the arrow, suddenly something happened. There was no thunder, there was no lightning, as usual, see in this Old Testament and so on. What happened was, all the workers who had come from all parts of the world started talking in a different language, which means till then there was only the language of the mind, there was no language. Then came the words. They started talking and each could not understand what the other guy was saying. So there was a big commotion and a fight and the whole tower collapsed. Words. And devotion, bhakti is not, it's in the heart. You know it, in your tradition. I know I come from the Nath Sampradaya. And in our tradition we have many encounters and talks and discussions of Gorakhnath, for instance, with they are not mentioned as Bauls, but wandering, itinerant wanderers singing with an ektara. That's what it is all about. That ektara for us yogis in the Nath Sampradaya is the Shishumna, the single thread that goes from here to here. We play on that. And the 7 centers we have are the Swarasthanas, starting with Sa, going to the highest Sa and coming back again. You see? Anyway, so why I mention the story is because words cannot describe the Supreme Being, but we cannot but describe, because we are human beings, we like to show devotion. So we describe to the best of our capacity. Yes. However, if you sing in Bengali and I sing in, well, I was born in Kerala, so if I sing in Malayalam or Hindi, people who know that language understand the words. But people who don't know the language, what do they understand? Don't they understand something? Now this you sang such a beautiful piece. I understand Bengali. That's a different story. But suppose somebody does not know Bengali. Do you think that person will not be transported? No. It's not the understanding of the words, but the devotion and the bhava in which it's sung. And you don't need. I'm saying things which you know. You don't need a big orchestra for that. Yeah. Ek tara, one string. So, what I'm trying to say is that music is an intrinsic part of bhava and bhakti. And that music goes beyond all words. You don't need to know any words. If you listen to Beethoven, not words, just the Beethoven's music, you don't need any words. You get it. There's something going on inside. Which is why from ancient times, the great sages, the great teachers introduced music. How did Kabir convey his teachings? The great Kabir. Through songs, through Dohas, simple songs. And since you are on the subject of Kabir, Kabir Das, is something very significant. One of the Dohas which I love, he said, जा धड़ प्रेम न संचरई, जो धड़ जान स्मशान, जैसे खाल लुहार की सांस ले तो बिन प्राण. You know what it means? A heart which has no love, no affection, no devotion, no bhava, is equal to a smashan, cremation ground. There is nothing there, it's all burnt, finished. Nothing is left. There is no life out there. And he gives an example of saying that it's like Jaise khal luhar ki, the bellows of a blacksmith. I don't know in the West if you have blacksmiths still use bellows, but even today, if you go to Indian villages, see the blacksmith using bellows to pump air into the fire. Kabir says they also breathe, the bellows, because they're going up and down like our lungs. There is no pran, there is no life. Saans le to bina pran. So, when that devotion, that I would say is devotion, and it's spontaneous. I sometimes wonder if it can even be taught. Well, we can teach all the ways leading to it. Yes. But what it is, it can't be taught. One day suddenly the seed sprouts. We don't know how. In several people it has sprouted in different ways. There is no single way it comes. However, if there is someone who has experienced the bhakti and bhava in oneself, I think such a person may be called a siddha, who has attained the siddhi of the mantra, which can be any simple mantra. It can be Narayana, Narayana, Hari, Hari. But whoever has touched that, or it could be the songs of Rumi in the Majnavi, or it could be the beautiful Georgian chants that you hear in the Russian Orthodox Church. It could be. Now there are hundreds of people sitting in the church. The chants are going on. among them, suddenly one person, something sprouts. You can't say everybody has got it, but something sprouts because it takes time and then the heart opens. You can't explain it. There is no explanation for it. If I could explain it and put it in a book or something, I would have been very happy. Then we give it to everybody and say, here, catch it. But so we believe that perhaps it comes through the grace of the Supreme only. Also through the grace of the teacher. So the famous Kabir Panthi greeting, Sahib Bandagi, I am always a slave of Sahib. Sahib represents the Supreme. Sahib represents the, as you in the Baul tradition, what you call the Munir Manush, the human being inside the mind, which is divinity. And that treasure, when anybody seeks, that he or she becomes a bhakta. And therefore to say that I am going to find the truth without any bhava or bhakti is absolute nonsense. It cannot be done. You can learn all the Upanishads. You can practice yoga. You can well, my parampara also happens to be Kriya Yoga. You can sit and breathe up and down. But the heart has not melted. Nothing has happened. This is my firm opinion. I openly say this everywhere. Wherever I go, I don't care. I mean, it's like that. So what happens? So the music becomes the bridge from the known to that which is unknown. That which is unknown. Who can define the Supreme? The Upanishad itself, which is considered to be highest of Jnana Yoga, says, yeah, this is very interesting. It says, yan manasana manyute, which the mind, even the mind cannot think of or conceive. Anahur mano matam, because of which the mind has its capacity to be aware. Tadeva brahmatvam vidvi, alone, that alone is the Supreme Being. Nedam yad idam upasate, nothing that you worship here. Which means we worship the manifestations of divinity. The true divinity can be known only when the mind becomes pure and divine by itself inside. Then it is realized. It can't be described logically. It can't be put in words. Yad vacha na abhyutitam, words cannot describe it. What do we do? Give up. That's called surrender. We try hard. Then we say, okay. Now again I am to come back to this, that the most interesting thing is, if someone who we consider to be the spiritual teacher has touched it, then the presence of that teacher can make the seed grow inside us. Even if the seed has already been dropped, sown, it's like, suppose there's a big magnet. You have an iron piece. You take the iron piece, closer it goes to the magnet, the more magnetic it becomes. And cleaner it is, the more magnetic it becomes. Because usually iron has rust on it. So the whole of sadhana, the whole of our devotion, bhakti, bhava, is the clearing of all the rust that is on the iron piece. When the rust goes, the iron then behaves exactly like a magnet. Now, this is the importance of a teacher, of a guru, a proper guru. I'm sorry, because nowadays guru word has become so popular. So anyway, so when we have a guru, a real saint, a real teacher, I can see, I have read a little bit about your teachers who were shown in the beginning by Ram. When there are such real teachers, it happens. The seed is sown, and then you hear the music of the Bansuri, as Krishna plays it in Vrindavan. Then what happens when you hear that? You are not conscious of where you are, what you are. Gopis forgot if they were properly dressed. They just ran. You see? Now, can we persuade that Krishna to blow the flute for us? We can. Eager, he's eager to do it. But our flutes are stuffed with so much unnecessary rubbish and muck that even if he blows, no music is going to come out of it. You know what? The most important part of a flute? The hollowness, the bamboo, and the 7 holes. We have the 7 holes in us, but it's usually filled with a lot of muck collected over past births, this birth, anger, conflict, confusion, hatred. When these things are wiped out, then he can blow it. Music will come through. One great teacher said, even that is your job. Please do it for me. I know I'm full of muck. No, first I have to realize that there is muck. That realization is humility. Yes, I can do nothing, it's there. And then that begins to work and clears you. And then you hear that beautiful music and you are carried away. There was a talk, I was about to be carried away and we started. But then we have to speak, right? So I decided let's continue. Otherwise I thought let's close and go home. So this is my understanding of what bhakti. So bhakti towards the supreme reality, since we cannot define the supreme reality, whatever words we use, can be turned into devotion, bhakti for the teacher who expresses that divinity. Has to be a real teacher, of course. Then the seed is sown, the seed sprouts, you have a beautiful tree coming up, it flowers, like this beautiful song we heard. The garland of skulls is removed and the white garland of jasmine flowers or what are those white big, I forget the name, is substituted for it. And then you see the mother in a beautiful form with lovely white flowers on her neck, smiling. Then you realize that who you search for outside has always been sitting inside. And never outside. But we like to start with outside and then go in and find that which we look for outside is also inside. This is why another wandering yogi who lived in Jerusalem 1000 years ago said, lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. This treasure is the treasure of devotion, of love, of bhakti. No one can steal it from you, it's in your heart. Even in a bank, there can be a bank robbery, but no robber can get in here. Yes, one robber can get in there. The one who has devotion can quietly go in and steal it from you. Yes. But that's a beautiful stealing. Krishna stole butter. That's a sweet stealing. It's not masked stealing. Although in this pandemic, many people are beginning to look like bank robbers with masks. So, to sum up, because we have some time for questions, devotion is a deep bhava feeling that wells up in the heart when one finds one's limitations and is looking for divinity, which is without definitions, without limitations. It comes in a pure heart, which is no hatred, only love. It is speeded up, sometimes even sprouted, when one is in the presence of someone in whom this has happened before. And there is no particular technique to get it because it is a natural thing which is in every one of us. The mother loves the child, the husband loves the wife, the lovers love each other. It's all there. When it is directed towards the divine, then it becomes bhakti. So that's why in the bhakti tradition there are several layers of bhakti. Starting with ordinary bhakti, going to the temple, God, I need a promotion, please help. That's also bhakti because human beings need things, okay. And then you go to the next step when you want only God. I want nothing but it's not possible for everybody to do that. But what we should remember is that is the highest form of bhakti where I say, look, I want nothing but the feeling and the realization and the presence of the divine. I have no other desires. When this happens, a person is mature and can be called a sadhak. And when the seed sprouts and he sees divinity, then you call him a siddha. One who has achieved siddha is not one who learns how to walk on water or fly in the air. A siddha, that's not so difficult. Now you can buy an aeroplane ticket and fly in the air. Or you can pay 10 rupees to the boat, they will take you across. What is the use of sadhana for that? A real siddha is one whose mind has become mature, whose mind has bhava and devotion, and was one pointedly fixed on the eternal Supreme Being. That is the siddha. And it is the presence of such great beings that has sustained this world till today and sustained the spiritual search till today. And therefore my prayer is, may the Supreme Being bring about this change, bring about bhakti, bhava, the yearning towards finding the truth, which is supreme bliss and supreme love in all of us, those who are here today and those who are not here today. Like the ancient Vedic saying, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, may the whole world be happy, because the real sukha is in the divine, nowhere else. Dhanyavad. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shyam, for some very pertinent, very deep thoughts. Now, I would, with your permission, like to share some questions that we have received
Yes.
so far. In one of your videos, you have explained that the highest ideal of bhakti, with the story of Kunti's wish to Krishna. Does it mean that one has to be ready to cross a river of pain and suffering so as to be able to be with the divine?
After saying the story, I also told everybody, don't pretend to be Kunti. It's not easy. We can't say Kunti said that, so I also, no, it's not so easy to do that. You know the Kunti story, it bears repetition, a little bit. 2 minutes. The Kurukshetra war is over, okay? Mahabharat or Bhagavat. Kurukshetra war is over. Krishna is going away to Dwarka. So he goes to say goodbye to everybody. Those who are equal in age, he hugs. Now you must see that Mahabharata and Bhagavad, Krishna is presented as the supreme incarnation of Mahavishnu. And yet that supreme incarnation, when he is departing to Dwarka, hugs people who are of his same age group and he touches the feet of those who are older than him. If the Supreme Incarnation has that much humility, which we also don't have sometimes. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he goes. So in the process, he goes to Kunti, who is the matriarch of this whole family, and he touches her feet. And he says, I'm going to Dwarka, Kunti. Now, do you have anything to be fulfilled? This is the right moment to ask. So you ask for a boon and you'll have it now because I'm going. You won't get me later. There's a beautiful dialogue. Kunti says, 1 minute, you're saying you're going away. I know that you neither go nor come. You're here all the time. Why do you say you're going away? Where are you going away? And enough of this drama, please. I know who you are. I know you're the Antaryami, so don't play this role. To me, I know. So let's forget all that. Okay. You asked for a boon, for a blessing from me. I'm going to ask you that. You have to grant it. Krishna says, okay. So what is the... Bring all the sorrows of the world on my head. Now, can you imagine somebody, usually what do we ask when you see God? Or suppose you see God, or the Guru who represents God. Oh, free me of all my sorrow. I have too many things to look into, this, that. Kunti says, bring all the sorrows of the world on my head. Even Krishna is taken aback. Said, why? Because every time a sorrow comes, I'll call your name, blessed name. I know that if I call your blessed name, you will be in front of me. I can see you. So every time a sorrow comes, I call. So as more sorrows come, I call you more. You're always there because I keep calling and you'll come in front of me. What more do I want, Krishna? Every day I have your darshan. Enough. Finished. I don't want anything else. So this is Kunti's prayer. Now be careful with this prayer because don't let us pretend that we have become Kunti. Most of us, when the rug is slowly pulled from under our feet, we say, oh, no, bring it all back to me. I'm sorry. Kunti's prayer is possible only when one has only one resolve in the mind, and that is, I want only the divine, I want nothing else. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to daily cry before the mother saying, I only want you, don't give me anything else. And some people, thinking that Sri Ramakrishna did that, start doing it every day. They think they can fool Kali. They start doing it every day. And when Kali begins to pull the rug from under their feet, they come to people like us and say, we are suffering, what to do now, help us. Why in the first place did you think that you are Ramakrishna Paramahamsa? Let's go slow. Let's say, please take me to that height of devotion where I will ask only for you. That's good. Because you can't fool God, please. You can fool me, but you cannot fool God. Before you think, the Lord knows what you are thinking. Because He is your antaryami, inside your heart. How can you fool something like that? And now I must tell you a little funny story before this question is on. There was this old lady in a house who used to go to the Devi temple every day. And the Devi, in Nepal we have a Devi with hundreds of hands like Vishwarupa. So that temple. And her prayer was, and loudly, so that her daughter-in-law can hear it, her son can hear it, the priest can hear it. And the loud prayer was, oh Kali, oh mother, take everything from me, what do I have here, and so on. Remember that the storeroom's keys were always with her here, tied to her sari, her dupatta. But she used to show off. See. One day the priest got fed up. He said, what is this woman? So, what a hypocrite. So he went and stood behind the Devi and put his hands up. Now among the hundreds of hands, one hand doesn't make a difference. So he stood this way. And the lady came and said, oh mother, why are you keeping me on this earth? Take me away. He said, how? Come. Ashun. She ran for her life. She said, who will look after my grandchildren now if I go now? So give me some more time. This is the situation. So we have to be honest with ourselves. Are we ready to suffer? But the fact is, if you are ready for it, like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, you take one step towards the divine takes 2 steps towards you. So, but we have to be serious about this. It shouldn't be just a talk, you know what I mean. I would suggest, the best thing would be, I would want only you, but it's up to you to do that. Good.
Thank you for that, narrating once again that beautiful story of Kunti and Shri Krishna.
It's a very touching story, actually.
Absolutely. And the next question is, it's kind of, quite a few people have asked this question in a similar tone. When the divine, what we seek, is formless, especially a Vedantic Atman or something that is inexplicable, unfathomable, which does not have any feature, nothing to grasp, is it possible to cultivate devotion towards such a force which does not have attributes or beyond all attributes?
Love has really any form? Is it a feeling or is it a form? Tell me. Having asked that question, I leave it there. We go to the next. If I am to quote Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the dawn of Bhakti movement, from which all the today's what you find, Gaudiya Math, ISKCON, the Bengal Vaishnavites, they are all offshoots of followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once said something very interesting. He said, God is with form, without form, and with and without form at the same time. If you say no, then it is not an infinite supreme being, because a finite cannot be everything. Finite can be either with form or without form. It cannot be with and without form at this. This is not possible, because no finite, either this has to be a piece of wood or it has to be a piece of iron. It cannot be both. But if it is infinite, if you give it that concession that this is an infinite being we are talking about, then it does not matter really. What matters is our yearning to touch it. So after you have touched it, let us leave it to the one who has experienced it to decide really if it is formless or with form. Let's not go into this theory right now. Theoretically, we don't know. Okay. Who is the one of the most prolific writers and the greatest Vedantin that we know of for about say 800 years or so? Adi Shankara. Right. Now Adi Shankara wrote the commentaries on the Brahma Sutras, the Upanishads, and said that Supreme Being is formless, the world is Maya, and so on and so forth, which some schools don't agree, but whatever. It is the same Shankara who wrote this beautiful description of Devi in the Saundarya Lahari. And the same Shankara who wrote this beautiful song called Bhaja Govindam. Now, I don't know any Vedantins who are on a higher level than Adi Shankara. I don't know. I have not seen. Somebody might claim, but I'm little doubtful. And if that one should say, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, fool, chant the name of Govinda. Samprapte sannihite kale, your time to go is coming close. Nahi nahi rakshati dukra, all these grammatical constructions and interpretations are not going to work. Nahi nahi rakshati, there is no raksha. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudamade, chant the name of Govinda, you fool. If he can say that, Do we know, can we say that he does not understand the concept of the formless? He does. The problem is, to get totally absorbed in a formless being is not so easy. Maybe in the ultimate analysis it is completely formless, nirakar. But before you reach the nirakar, you need to reach it through saguna before you touch nirguna. And the highest guna is sattva, and that sattva is fully suffused by devotion. So Shankara knew this very well, otherwise he wouldn't have asked, because what happens is people go through all this thing about formless and make the word formless into a form. I don't know how to put this. Formless is a word. Nirakar is a word. You can't make a form out of Nirakar, then you are still in the form business. When you say that divinity is something that I cannot with my limited mind understand or grasp, then this controversy of form, formless, everything disappears. What is required is purity of mind and certain attributes. Now, there is one chapter in the Bhagavad Gita called Bhakti Yoga. You know that, you are aware of that. Among the 18 chapters, it is the 12th chapter, the 12th. So very many people ask, why is Bhakti Yoga in the 12th chapter? Why couldn't it be in the first, in the beginning? But then Arjuna would have got, why go to 12th chapter? The reason is, if you read carefully, till the 9th chapter, Krishna and Arjuna are behaving like friends. He is teaching him, he is listening, he has doubts. Sometimes when Krishna says something, Arjuna says, look, he may not use the same words I am using. He says, hold on, I can't get this. And then he clears it for him and it goes on. And their friends, their relatives are sitting on the chariot, he is the driver. Now the important thing to note is therefore give good importance to your driver. He could be Krishna, who knows. Anyway, so there sits Krishna talking like friends. Then what happens? In the 10th chapter, Krishna changes his tune. Suddenly he says, among the mountains I am the Meru, among the Munis I am Kapila, among the Vedas I am Samaveda, among the Achalas I am the Himachala, and so on. And Arjuna is shocked, what the hell is going on? Right now we were talking to each other, exchanging ideas, and this guy suddenly says, I am the Meru mountain or Kapila. How is this possible? So slowly, Arjuna's so-called rational mind is being broken gradually. That's the Gita, how it goes about it. He is beginning to become unsure of what's happening. That's the beginning of breaking of that mind, the limited mind, okay, which is so absolutely dead sure everything is as it is, black and white. Grey areas can't be seen. Okay, what is the 11th chapter? Vishwarupa Darshana. Arjuna gets the shock of his life. This guy who was sitting and talking, suddenly he becomes, the whole world is coming out of him, gods are coming, what the hell? So at that point, his complete so-called rational structuring has broken down. That's why it was done, perhaps. Then comes Bhakti Yoga, chapter 12. And believe me, one of the few chapters which begins with Arjuna Vacha. Usually most chapters begin with Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Bhagavan says, Arjuna Vacha. And Arjuna has a question. It deals with what we were discussing. That's why I came there. The question Arjuna asks is, some people say that the greatest of yogis are those who worship the supreme, formless, all-pervading being, intangible. There are others who say that those who worship the Supreme, like you're sitting in front of me in your form or some other form. Some people say they are superior. According to you, who is the greatest of yogis? Answer this question. Krishna very beautifully, Krishna is never direct. This is very interesting. Wherever it is, he goes this way, like the snake that goes up the spine. So, Krishna says, okay, the great rishis who thought of the Supreme Being as the formless, omnipotent and so on, they're right, no question about that. Okay? But most human beings live in this world of name and form, nama and rupa. We all of us live in a world of forms. Proof, what do we do early in the morning when we wake up? Usually all our wash basins have a mirror. What is the first thing that we are so fond of our own rupa, forget God's rupa. We stand in front of the mirror, see how many grey hairs are in my eyebrows, and if ladies pluck them off usually, I don't know about men, and then how many more wrinkles have appeared today, am I okay, I want too much in the sun so I've become a little dark, and things like that. This is what we do. We are so fond of our own rupa. And nama and rupa are intricately connected, because when I say, when somebody's name, when I hear, I immediately conjure the rupa. Or when I see the form, immediately the name occurs to me. So nama and rupa are. So he says, therefore for most human beings who are nama rupa oriented, it's easier to reach the Supreme through that. Now here it includes japas, music, song, they are all in some way nama rupas. From there you go to the divine. But then he says the most important thing is the qualities, the attributes that the yogi has. If he has these attributes or she has these attributes, then the modus operandi is not so important. And what are these qualities? One, samniyam indriya gramam, one who has control over his emotions and senses. Then sarvatra samabuddhaya, one who remains tranquil under all situations or learns to do that, let's put it that way. And sarvabhuta hiterata, one who has the welfare of all living beings in his heart. If these three attributes are present, no matter which way you worship the Supreme, because actually you don't know, we don't know which way you worship the Supreme, it doesn't matter as long as these qualities and attributes are developed in us. So I think that is more important. When we touch that, perhaps then we can find out form with. Once we had a wonderful discussion. In India there is this thing about groups of Shaivites and Vaishnavites. Shaivites don't like Vaishnavites, not among the Bauls, of course, they're all one, but generally. So when once I was present, my master Maheshwarnath ji was there, and some of the Goswais, the Vaishnavite Goswais, and some Shaivites, they were having a big argument, discussion about whether Shiva is the Supreme God or Mahavishnu is the Supreme God. This happens here. So finally they came to Babaji. He sorted this out for us. Babaji asked the chief Goswami, have you seen God? No. So what do? I do Pada Seva. I worship the feet of the Lord. Good. The other guy, what about you? Have you seen Shiva? No. Then what do? I worship the linga as a symbol, or the feet as a symbol of Shiva. Okay, fine. Then he said, then don't quarrel now. Continue with your practices. When you finally see Vishnu or Shiva, then you can decide whether the nama is worn this way or whether it is worn this way. Don't go into that now. Go, move. Although I have some attachment to this nama, but it doesn't matter. Personally, I'm saying. I love this now. Today I didn't wear it. So.
Ram has forwarded me another question. If you would like
Please, yeah.
The question is Bhakti to Guru more important than to Deity?
Then, that's that. Well, both are same. Both are same, but deity is something which you haven't yet experienced or seen, right? While a teacher, a guru is one who you see every day, if you do, is in front of you. So it's easier to demonstrate or to indulge in that than to do that, because that's an unseen entity. You're sure, of course, convinced that it is there, the deity is real, but it's still unseen, untouched. However, the teacher who has seen the deity is in front of you. So it's devotion to the teacher. Now, when you say devotion to the teacher, it need not necessarily mean that every day you fall at the teacher's feet and all that. You can if you like, but that's not the whole thing. When you have real devotion to the teacher, it means you feel what's happening in the heart of the teacher in your heart also. That is the real devotion to the teacher. And also to make sure that you follow instructions. I say, oh, I love you, you're the greatest, but I'll do what I want. I won't follow it. That's not devotion. So, to the question, I think both are important, but the guru should be considered as a manifestation of the divine and therefore worshipped. Not because of that particular form, but because it's an emanation of the divine. Let me put it that way. So thank you very much. I hope you all enjoyed and understood what's going on. Thank you.